Now, I know I'm not the only one, but isn't this just like an episode of Scandal? I met this girl when I was 10 years old, and what I loved most, she had so much soul. Hey everybody, it's Old School Heart back with another cultural conversation for you. So if you are not a subscriber to the page, hit that subscription button. Also like this video and also share this video to Instagram, to Facebook. Let's have a good cultural conversation today. If you have not watched my video on why symbolism hurts the Black community, go ahead and click on that video as well. That is a good conversation. Not only that, you'll be surprised at the video attached to that cultural conversation. So go ahead and look at that video if you have not done so already. So today will not be a long topic at all, but it is something that the social media, the internet is definitely talking about. So we are going to talk about it here. And so let's get into today's cultural conversation. So today's cultural conversation is on Symone Sanders. Last week, the Washington Post did an article featuring Symone Sanders and her fiance. I believe his name is Sean Townsend. And during that Washington Post interview, Symone Sanders expressed the fact that she was hurt because she was passed over for the White House press secretary job once Biden became president and the office moved Democratic. I'm going to read a little bit to you on what it says on the Hill article, because the Washington Post article really focuses on, you know, how she met Sean, making her way through politics, and him making his way through the nightlife, because that is his position. So let me just read that for you, and then we will have a cultural conversation. So it says Symone Sanders, a senior advisor to Vice President Harris, was reportedly hurt after being passed over for the White House press secretary job, according to a wide-ranging Washington Post feature on Sanders and her fiance, DC's Director of Culture and Nightlife, Sean Townsend. It goes further on to say that Sanders worked for the presidential campaign of Senator Bernie Sanders in 2016 before becoming an advisor on President Biden's 2020 presidential campaign. And now that Biden is in office, now she actually is the senior advisor for Vice President Kamala Harris. So like I said, the article goes on to just talk about them preparing to get married, what it looks like being in the spotlight for Townsend, and what that means for the job that Symone Sanders has. So let's talk a little bit about Symone Sanders. So Symone Sanders, without her, there would be no President Joe Biden. That is how influential Symone Sanders was to the Democratic Party, and specifically Joe Biden. She was basically the liaison between the Black community and Joe Biden. And whenever there was criticism, whenever there were questions that needed to be answered, they wouldn't necessarily come from Joe Biden. They would mostly come from Symone Sanders. Now, one reason why I would say that a little bit more so come from Symone Sanders than Biden is specifically when they did the Breakfast Club interview where Joe Biden said, "If you don't vote for me, you're not Black." So Symone, unfortunately, her position was to clean that up and to specifically try to get people to understand what Biden was saying and make sure that we vote him as our next president. A lot of people have gotten a lot of jokes and kicks out of something that she did during the presidential campaign, when an unknown person ran up on stage trying to get to Biden, and Symone Sanders basically blocked that and tackled that unknown person down. And so they've referenced Symone Sanders as the linebacker, or as Biden's bodyguard, or as his safety net, so Symone Sanders, without her, there is no Biden. Without her, the communication between the black community and Biden wouldn't have been very, very good. I would say that the election basically was between her and Trump. And so what we see now is what we've always said from the get-go, is that Biden will continue to be who he said he is going to be. And that's something that I and a lot of people who have larger platforms have always said, is that there is not going to be any changing that Biden will do. He's going to be the same old dog that he has always been. For someone that has been in politics as long as Biden has been in politics, it's going to be hard for, what do they say, a cheetah or a leopard to change their, a zebra to change their stripes. It's going to be very, very hard for them to do that. And so while people were saying, oh, this is a new day, Biden has learned his lesson, he is going to be a lot more indebted to black people. He owes black people something. And so he is going to change all of these years of being in office and saying awful things about black people, voting against things that black people need in order to climb economically, also to have safety and benefits and different things like that. He's going to be different. That is what everyone kept saying. He's going to have to be, because we are the ones who's going to get him in office. And it's true. We are the ones who got him in office. And Symone is the reason why that is the case. But now we look at Biden's office and cabinet and different people that he's put in leadership positions. And all of that Biden's going to do is a lie. And we're starting to see him for who he really is and who he ultimately always was. There was actually a photo that went out of how it started and then how it's going. I'm going to post that so you guys can see what initially his office looks like and what it now looks like. But let's get back to Symone Sanders. As I said before, there is no office, there is no Biden office without Symone Sanders. Here's the problem though, and I have several questions, and what I will say is this: I'm not going to make fun of Symone Sanders like I've seen some people do on YouTube, or I've seen some people say through the comments that they knew that this was going to happen. They don't feel sorry for her. It's just really joking and making fun of her, calling her the linebacker and different things like that. That's not going to be my position, because I feel as if black women are made fun of a lot and criticized a lot by America. And one thing that I will not do is contribute to that type of behavior, especially someone as young as Symone Sanders. So it's not my job to, make fun of her at all, to joke about, her feeling hurt for being passed over for the White House press secretary job. That's not what I'm going to do here. But we will have a good cultural conversation, and I will give my opinion on, how she feels. Now, one of the questions that I have is, I really want to know what Symone thought she was promised, because there's two different things that I'm thinking of here. He actually told her that she would be the press secretary, or he told her that she would always have a position in the Biden White House. And I'm assuming what she may have heard was, you will always have a position in the Biden White House, instead of you will be the press secretary. Now, she's really young, and so we're gonna spare her here. But I'm not taking up for Biden at all on this. What I am saying is this: if he told you with his mouth that if you continue to do a good job on his presidential campaign, and that if you got him in office and got the black vote for him, that you would be press secretary, you should have made him put that in writing, or you should have recorded that conversation, so that if he does make a different move, if he decides to go with someone else, then you have it in writing, or you have it on, you have a recording, and blast him. You know what I mean? Blast him. Be like, this is what you said you were going to do if I gave the black vote. I gave you the black vote. Where's my stuff at? That way he knows that, you know, and you can't necessarily bribe someone to give you a position. So I'm not saying that, but I am saying this, you know, that should have been put in writing. That should have been agreed upon. If you got the black vote, then this is what you would get in return. Now, I know that's not legal in a way, but what I'm just saying is, she should have made sure that that position was cleared for her. And I know that there are some legal things behind that. So I know that, you know, I'm kind of reaching a little bit, but I'm just saying some type of assurance. But I believe that he told her that he would always give her a position in his White House. And so she took that as, he's going to give me a position in whatever area that I so choose to be a part of. Now, this is a touchy conversation because as a black woman, and some of you guys will understand exactly where I'm coming from, we've heard this time and time again. We've seen this happen in the workplace time and time again. This reminds me of something that my father calls it. And this happened to me the same time, the same age that it happened to Symone Sanders. I was 30 years old when, as my father would call it, I got my first NIGGA wake-up call. And I know you guys have heard of that term. If you've not heard of that term, let me give you a little definition. Okay, so a definition of the NIGGA wake-up call is basically when you have the blinders taken off of you and you realize that even though you've achieved, you've overperformed, you've dotted your I's, you've crossed your T's, you've done everything on this path to greatness, and white supremacy comes along and shuts all of that down. Or white supremacy comes along and takes all the blinders off of you, and you realize things don't appear to be as they are. And you see things for what they are. You see that there are barriers. You see that people can trick you into believing that if you do certain things that you will get a certain outcome. And so I believe that what Symone is experiencing is a wake-up call. And like I said, at her age, I got my first wake-up call. I was working at Cook County Department of Corrections as a rehabilitation counselor. This position is not easy to get. So you just can't go into Cook County Department of Corrections and be like, I want to do this. There are multiple candidates. There are 500 actual candidates that apply for this job. They only ask for 2. I was one of those. I went in bright-eyed, thinking that I was going to change what it was like for black men and black people in general to be in jail, that I was going to assist them, that I was going to make a difference. And what I realized, that it was a lot of policy, it was a lot of backhandedness, it was a lot of jealousy, it was a lot of I don't know if I said politics already. It was a lot of politics behind everything. It was not what it appeared. And the more that I stayed on that job, the more miserable I became. Because what I realized is basically I was a paper pusher. And not only was I a paper pusher, I had to ignore being human over policy. And I became this real big policy person. I became this person that was really, really, this is the way that it's supposed to go. F you. I was cursing a lot. I was cursing out inmates. They were cursing back at me. And I didn't have that human side that you need to have to work in that position. I had given that up to be like everybody else in that job. And I found myself every morning getting in the parking lot about 30 to 40 minutes before work even began and bawling, crying, because I had realized that I wasn't doing a damn thing and that I was becoming somebody that I hated and that I started to hate people when the core of me really, really wanted to make a difference. The core of me really, really was about change. The core of me was really, really compassionate. And I realized that I was working against myself. I was working against the divine gift that God had given me to be all of that. And slowly but surely, as I'm working that job, the blinders are starting to come off. And so many backhanded things are happening. And I will admit, some of that was my fault, because when there was a lot of ego there, like I said, there was a lot of attitude there. So I had become somebody that I didn't even recognize myself. So I do have to take some accountability to that. But when I got that wake up call, when I realized that I was aiding in white supremacy, that I was becoming what I wasn't trying to be ever in life, I could not be there any longer. I could not be there any longer, and I had to make a change. I don't know if Symone is at that spot yet, or if she'll ever be at that spot, but I think that is what she's experiencing. And so I'm not here to say I told you so, Symone, like a lot of people have done. What I'm here to say is I think this is going to be a starting point for her to see that all of that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get what you want in a white supremacy country. You can do all of that and still not get what you want. And unfortunately, Symone is seeing that. One of the things that I will be critical on is she did express that having that position meant that she would be the first black White House press secretary, right? She would have that first African American position. And I just talked about symbolism before and how that hurts the black community. And one of the things that I will say is I'm happy that she did not get that position, because then we would be dealing with yet another person who will use that to monetize her entire life off of, and also contributing and not helping black people at all. And I think that her not having this position will open her eyes and allow her to make better moves than what she would be able to make if she had been press secretary. Because I think that her mind would have never been able to understand that having that position, that symbolism position, would mean that her involvement in making sure the Black community was getting what they needed and deserved, I think that wouldn't have been done if she had that position. She would have reveled in that position. She would have honored in that position, and she would have forgotten that position. And so a part of me is like, I'm happy that you don't have it, so that you have an opportunity to try to advocate for the Black community in ways that you may not have done so before. And I think one of the ways that it will allow her to do that is so that she can tell other Black women not to be so naive, not to be so fixated on something that she doesn't really take the blinders off and see what is in front of her. Joe Biden has not changed. He had never changed. He was never going to change. But now she's able to see that he is the man that he said he was going to be. Now, she is still in office. She is still the senior advisor to Vice President Harris. I don't know if she likes that position or not. And the fact that she expressed in this Washington Post interview, and I believe in her book that she has coming up, I believe that, I don't know if there's a tiff between her and Kamala Harris, but I do believe that she don't like that position. I do believe that she doesn't know what that position really means. I do believe that her real talent may be in what I do, which is broadcasting, which is news, which is television, which is commentary. I don't believe that she's able to do that underneath President Kamala Harris's leadership. Or if she's able to really advise Kamala on that. And so I think she's at a point in life where this may be boring. And I don't know if we'll see her in that position very much longer. I think that the more that she grows into herself, we're talking about a 31-year-old woman, the more that she grows into herself, the more that she'll seek after what she desires, and the more that she'll understand that the more that she'll understand that people are who they say they are. You know, like Maya Angelou said, when people show who they really are, believe them, she'll start to understand that more. And she'll start to mark out her own position a whole lot more in the upcoming years. And so I'm looking forward to see what Symone will do. Like I said, I'm not here to criticize her. I'm not here to make fun of her. But I will say I think she got her wake-up call. And I think it's going to take her a couple of years to understand how the democratic process works, if she really fits in that. I think she will have possible regrets, one of them being blocking Biden. Because I really believe that she thought if she did all it took, all it takes. We've all been through this before, Black women. If we do everything right, we are going to get what we want. And in some cases, that may be true. We actually may get what we want. Financially, all of that. Popularity-wise, we actually kind of can get what we want. But in some cases, that's not the case. You know, you can do all, be all, and still not get what you want. And still have somebody of another race take your position, as with what Biden did when he brought in that other lady to be the press secretary who had already worked with Obama. You know, everybody had already said that he was going to be picking people from cabinets, from people that he already knew. And that's what we see, is that he used a lot of white people from the Obama administration and some from the Clinton administration. And so, he's being exactly who he said he was going to be. But like I said before, just because you do all of that, just because you become everything that a person wants you to become, it doesn't guarantee you will get what you desire. And so this is a big wake-up call for Symone. And this is a lot. But congratulations to her on her engagement. Maybe being with him, you know, and him really speaking to her and letting her know, hey, you know, I'm protecting you. I'm not about to let nobody punk you. Maybe that will help her as well. Maybe wedding planning will help her have a step back and take a look at overall some of the regrets and some of the decisions that she's made. So I want to hear your opinions about Symone Sanders and that Washington Post interview. What do you think? How do you have sympathy for Symone Sanders? What do you think will happen to her in the next upcoming years? Do you think that she will wake up and make different decisions? I want to hear from you. And thank you so much for watching the last couple of videos. Thanks for all the subscribers. Of course, I will be back on Wednesday for Where My Girl's At. It's going to be episode 10, guys. And so I want to reflect on some different things. And so I'm excited about that. Look out for that video late Wednesday night. So this is Old School Heart. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.